And it's time to talk to the doc. Dr. Tim McKnight joins us Tuesday mornings. Talk to the doc presented to you by the folks at Mako's Market and Pharmacy in downtown Urichville. And we say good morning to Dr. McKnight. How are you?
Hi, Steve. Good. How are you doing?
A little wintry out there today.
It feels, it does feel like winter.
Got to be a little bit careful this time of year with people walking and shoveling. And I know we haven't really had any heavy snow yet, but this is the time of year that you can injure yourself pretty easily with the winter weather and slip on the ice. So you got to really think about things before you keep your normal pace up.
Yeah, a day like today looks like it's just wet, but, there's probably black ice someplace, and this is when we're most vulnerable to slip and fall and hurting.
Right, we're on that verge just above freezing, and it can
we haven't
go
been
either
thinking
way.
about it because we haven't seen the ice yet, really.
And so you think about that, steps and sidewalks, parking lots. Be careful out there. I'm sure you see a lot of those types of injuries this time of year.
And you always regret that you weren't a little bit more careful after it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it only takes a split second before you can fall and do some damage. So be safe. And this time of year, that's the other side of it. We are so busy. We are rushing around. We've got a gazillion things on our mind to get everything finished in time for the holidays. It can be pretty stressful for people. How is that as far as what you deal with? Is stress a real thing that people have this time of year?
The last week it's been amazing. It's one of those in medicine you tend to see conditions or illnesses in bunches, and right now probably as much as this upper respiratory infection that's going around is the anxiety and stress that I'm seeing with patients, and they're just overwhelmed. And yesterday I was teasing with someone saying it's very contagious, but boy, it's people really struggle this time of year with everything they're trying to do, and just everything kind of comes crashing down on top of them, and they're just overwhelmed. I think
for me, it was more difficult in my younger days. As I get older, I guess the wisdom or whatever it is, you just realize that it's coming and it's going and it's going to be here, and what happens is going to happen. So you have to just kind of get the right mindset to deal with stresses during the holidays. I mean, you think about it. You've got guests coming in. You've got to get everything finished. You got gifts to buy. You've got the financial side of it. It can be a really, really tough time for people. You're missing people that are no longer with you, those types of things.
Absolutely. It really is a struggle, and I think a lot of it is these expectations we place on what we want the holidays to be. We want that Norman Rockwell kind of a holiday, and for most of us that doesn't happen. But when you have family members involved and, like you said, death or illness, or just people you haven't seen in a while, and expectations, you want all these things you're trying to do, it's the perfect storm for just disappointment and being overwhelmed.
How do you deal with that? I mean, what's your best advice to patients and to people that come to you and say, I don't know if I can deal with this much more?
Well, I think you just said it. Fast forward about 30 years, a little bit of age and wisdom. Experience. But no, in all fairness, I think there's several things that can be done, because what happens in my office is people come in and they're crying and they're feeling anxious and overwhelmed, and they just want a medication. And that's really, most of the time, for something that's seasonal, that's not the right approach.
Right.
There are times when I think anxiety does need to be medicated, but for most of us, it's too much on our plate. So the first thing is just let it go.
Right.
You're not going to be able to do everything, and don't try. You lower your expectations a little bit. Something else you can do is just delegate. Maybe you can get other people to help you with some of those things you're trying to accomplish. Something else is just simplify. Prioritize. Let's just keep this simple. Let's not try to make this happy and grand for everyone. Just keep it on a small core of people. And then probably the last thing I think is really helpful, and I've really found this over the years for myself to be very true, and that's to refocus. And I found in my personal life and dealing with patients that when I turn inwards and I think about all the things that I want to do and I expect and I want to see happen, that's an inward focus. And we're never happy when we focus inward. And probably the most happiness that I've felt is when I've deflected that inward focus and I've turned outwards.
Right.
And my thoughts are, who can I help today? Whose day can I make better? What can I do to help somebody else? And that's really the spirit of Christmas.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that's probably the best medicine.
And you think about it, a lot of people, they're dealing with maybe being alone or not having that special someone in their life this time of year. What a great thing to do to help yourself is to go out and volunteer or to help somebody else. Not a better feeling in your heart to get out there and give back to somebody.
No, that's the absolutely best medicine, and it's free. Just takes a little time, a little forethought and planning and awareness for other people around us that might be suffering or hurting.
And the other thing that you think about too this time of year, and I'm guessing that this plays into it, is that traditionally November, December, January, very gray, gloomy. We don't see a lot of sunshine. That can kind of play on your mental state as well. If it gets dark at 4:00 in the afternoon, it's kind of a depressing time. So you have to really step back and refocus yourself to get through this.
There is no question. Somebody asked me this yesterday in the office. They asked about, is this seasonal affective disorder real? I said it's absolutely real. And without getting too deep, we've talked about water before. Ultraviolet light and infrared light rearranges the organization and structure of water in our cells, and it enhances electrical conduction and biochemical pathways. So we do feel more energized in the summer, and we feel more tired this time of year and more down and depressed. But the best thing you can do is turn your thoughts outward and try to help somebody else. And of course, exercise and get out. But, it really is a challenge at 4:00. The sun's starting to go down, and you're feeling 6 or 7 o'clock. It's time for bed.
Right,
so,
right. It's a very tough time.
It can be a challenge for sure.
Well, good advice. Just kind of take a deep breath, step back, and give back. That's always a good thing for people. Again, it's not one of those things where you can take a pill and everything's going to be all right, because there's more to it than that.
And the pill is that inward approach. What can I take for myself?
Right.
And again, sometimes those medications are needed, but for most of us this time of the year, feeling overwhelmed, that's the last thing we should do, because some of these medications can be very habit forming, and more and more providers are less and less inclined to use these medications. There's a lot of problems with them. There's a lot of oversight and people watching how we prescribe these, so we really don't like using them anymore.
Sure.
So.
Is it vitamin D that we get from the sunlight?
Absolutely,
is
yes.
that what we're missing?
We're lacking vitamin D, and usually, from October to March or April, I'll tell people to double their vitamin D intake, because I think we need it.
Absolutely. Well, good advice as always. And 1 week from today, it will be Christmas Eve. And so, it's coming. These next 2 weeks are usually some of the most hectic times of the entire year until we get to January. So, like you say, just focus, help other people, and make somebody feel good today. That's gonna do wonders for yourself.
Yeah, let's remember the spirit of Christmas is turning outwards, not inwards.
Great advice as always from Dr. McKnight. Talk to the Doc, presented by Mako's Market and Pharmacy in Uricksville. And next week being Christmas Eve, we'll both you're going to be at the hospital. I'm going to be here, so we'll do kind of a year-end recap and look back at what we've talked about this year, and of course focus on January, which will be here, which also means another Fit for Life. I know when we talked at the end of last week, it was just a few slots left for the January program.
Yeah, we're getting really close to being full, but I would say if anybody's interested to call the hospital, speak with Kelly Bow, and get registered, because she might be able to squeeze in a few more. But we're excited. We're going to have a great turnout. We're excited for the venue we're going to be at Community Hospice. So we're really looking forward to this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a whole new session, being out of the hospital and at Community Hospice for the January Fit for Life program, the new 2020 edition. We will talk Christmas Eve.
Okay, I'll see you then. Thanks.
Dr. Tim McKnight in studio with good advice how to handle the holiday stress this morning. And again, Talk to the Doc presented to you by Mako's Market and Pharmacy in downtown Uricksville. Great pharmacy, good people with knowledge about the medications, the supplements. They can help you out. Stop in and visit the folks at Mako's Market and Pharmacy.